joined by him live to talk about his work.
The take-up rolls
Yeah.
will all be cast metal.
So right now everything is,
Yeah, it's not the best light,
but if you show, yeah.
so people will be able to build a toy box and can choose from a number of different toys.
All right. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you're joining from. Welcome to this live stream. It's great to see everybody. Give a shout out in the chat box. Let us know where you're joining from. Great to see everybody. I'm going to open up my chat box so I can see who's joining. We'll wait a couple of seconds before we actually begin. Gives time for folks to join. Definitely say hello in the chat box. And I'd love to know if you're a first-time participant in this little live stream. Hey, Beth, good to see you. Hi, Benny, on this rainy day. I know I hear you. We're having storms here on the East Coast. Hi, Lisa. Hi, Lynn. Good to see you. Yeah, we're having a rainy day. I hope you guys are safe and dry wherever you are. Hopefully this storm will pass through really quickly. Hi, Connie. Good to see you. Hi, Jennifer in Lexington. Great to see you. Arizona is in the house. Carol is there. Great to see you. If you're a first-time participant, definitely give me a shout out. I'd like to know if you are here for the first time. Hi, Tina. Hi, Helen. I love this part. Hey, Mark. Leslie. And Glen Falls, New York. Hi, Mary. Good to see you. All right, we're coming right up on the 4 o'clock mark. Definitely continue to say hello if you don't mind in the chat box and let us know where you're joining from. I'm just going to do a little bit of housekeeping before we bring on our special guest on this lovely Sunday. And thank you guys for joining. It's really good to see everybody. So if you don't know who I am an unapologetic miniaturist. So that means I love all things minis and I am proud of it. So that's what I am. But I'm a maker, I'm a hobbyist, I'm a collector, I'm a volunteer. I do volunteer work for the Guild. I'm a former board member of the Guild. So if you don't know who I am, I love miniatures. I promote them every chance I can get, but I sell them as a business. So if you are interested in, if you have a collection to sell, and you're interested in learning more about what your options are for selling your miniatures, definitely get in touch. We're going to put the put my contact information in the chat box if you'd like to connect about selling your collection. I also have a really nice blog post that I did on what it means to sell your adored collections. So I wrote a nice piece on my blog post. So you can head there to read more about what that might look like if you are interested in selling your treasured collection or selling on behalf of somebody that might have you might have their collection that you're selling on their behalf. But so I promote them every chance I can get, and this is part of how I do that through this Meet the Miniaturist series. I have a couple of them that I have passed over the last few weeks. I interviewed Esther Marker out of India. She's an awesome 3D maker, really bridging creating that bridge between fine art and miniatures that are made using some of the technologies today, like 3D technology. She really does a beautiful job connecting those two to create fine art miniatures made from 3D. I don't know if you've seen it, guys. If you've seen that one, if you were here last week for that, put a note in the comments section and let me know what you thought about that. She's awesome. I was also at the Museum of Arts and Design in New York, right here in New York, and I was able to talk to the curator of the Joanna Fisher Dollhouse, which is a new exhibition. Actually, it's not new anymore. It's an exhibition that's going on through till the end of September 26th, actually. And I'm working on getting that replay posted onto my YouTube channel. Give me a little more time. I'm having a little trouble with some of the audio. Some of you were there. You might have noticed it was very difficult to hear. I apologize for that. As far as some Meet the Miniaturists that are coming up, definitely put some of these on your calendar. I have an Instagram Live that's happening this Thursday on the 26th at 7 p.m. Eastern. I'm going to be talking with Kelly from Mini Dwell. Very interesting concept. She's a maker of contemporary miniatures, but she has an awesome retail strategy on how she sells her miniatures. And basically, she sells them out of a 1/12 scale store that she created. It's awesome. We're going to be meeting with her on Instagram. If you're not familiar with Instagram, this is a good reason to go and join Instagram, because you get to go and participate and view some of these live interviews. It's basically bringing this Zoom sort of concept to Instagram. I have two other events happening. One is a sponsorship webinar sponsored by miniatures.com, hbsminiatures.com. It's all about lighting. So I'm going to do a webinar about lighting, less about the technical part, but more about the options in lighting that we have today that help you decide which avenue you want to go to in lighting your miniatures. So you're going to want to look for that. That's Sunday, August 29th at 4 p.m. That's going to be next weekend at this time. We'll put the registration link is up. We'll put that in there so you can go ahead and register for that. And then finally, in terms of what's happening this month, I am going to be going to the Walt Disney Family Museum in San Francisco. I'm not going there. I will be live streaming, and we'll be joined over there on that end by one of the exhibit hosts who will be taking us through and talking about Walt Disney's passion for miniatures. I don't know if you guys knew this, but he loved miniatures. In fact, there's a gallery inside the family museum there that houses some of his collection. We're going to get to see some photographs of those. We're going to be talking to the guest host who talks through these galleries in a live stream next weekend, the 29th. I'm sorry, it's a Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Eastern. It's a sort of an evening edition of Meet the Miniatures. So you're going to want to see that. And then finally, I do have an auction coming up, and I might have mentioned this before. If you've if you've been on my live streams, I have a very and I don't use this word lightly, but it really is an extraordinary collection of miniatures from a couple. It's the name is the couple is it's the Buckalters. It's the Buckalters estate, and I'm selling the estate on behalf of the niece. It really is a beautiful collection. I have some of the pieces behind me. I've been spending a lot of time cataloging, and I'm going to have the auction ready probably in about 2 or 3 weeks. So stand by for the date of the auction. And I'm going to be hosting a couple of really interesting live streams for folks who might not know a lot about participating in an auction. So I'll be doing a live stream on how to participate in a miniatures auction and how to spot a fine miniature. I'll be doing an auction preview live stream. So I'll be actually showing you all of the miniatures, holding them up, talking to them, putting them in front of the camera. And then finally, I will have a live stream about estate planning. For those people who are considering selling their collection, I'll go through. I'll be having a live stream for those people who want to learn a little bit more about what their options are. So with that, sign up on my website for all of the updates, so you are first to know when all of this is happening. But September is going to be the month that a lot of this is happening. So yeah. So with that, we are going to bring Glen Erick Anderson up, who hails from Canada. As with all of the miniaturists that are featured here on Meet the Miniaturists, I find a lot of them on Instagram. I found him on Instagram, completely struck by his work, his attention to detail, his awesome miniatures. And here we are, joined by him live to talk about his work. Hey, Glen, how are you?
Good, Darren. How are you? How is everybody?
Good. Thank you again for joining today. I'm really excited that we're going to be talking to you, and you're coming to us live from your working studio. So
yes, from my shop.
I'm thrilled by all that, and I'm sure the folks at home are going to be thrilled by getting to meet you, hear about your work, and then maybe even get a guided tour of your studio space. So with that, why don't we start at the very beginning? Let us know a little bit about you. How did you get involved with miniatures? What is your background in miniatures? Let's learn about you.
Well, I mean, when I was very young, I started out as a child. My father used to build models, and I often, when I was very young, would watch him build models. And eventually, as I got older, I started to build, the traditional plastic models of planes and tanks and cars. And eventually from there, sort of moved into building wooden ship and plane models. And then, grew up and got out of it and went off to college and life. And then later on, as I got older and I was looking for hobbies and looking for something to do, I came upon a book, in fact, The Art of Making Miniatures.
Really?
I found it at this copy at a yard sale or a used bookstore. And I brought it home. It's slowly falling apart. But I started to read it and look at it. And I thought, this is sort of such a cool alternative to building regular models.
Yeah.
It allowed me to build from scratch. And I started to build some of his pieces and eventually started collecting more and more books on, furniture and design.
Yeah.
And my interest has always been in sort of more modern stuff that, certainly Harry Smith didn't sort of focus on. So I started to move to other types of furniture.
Yeah.
And
So no real studies around because your technical abilities, and we're going to see how those technical skills come through in some of your work. But where did you acquire these skills? Where did you get these skills to be able to do some of the work that you do?
Well, a lot of it comes from modeling. Even when I was, younger, building plastic models, I was never sort of satisfied with the kit in itself.
Yeah.
I always had to add to it. I had to age it. I had to, if it was a military model, I had to add battle damage to it.
Yeah. Right. Just
So
going the extra step is really how you made it your own and owned it.
Yeah, and one of the aspects of building miniature furniture that is sort of part of my modus operandi, as I, if I'm taking a full-size piece of furniture and converting it to miniature, I want it to be as close to the original as possible.
Yeah.
And if that original piece of furniture went through a house fire or was used, by a family for, 100 years, I need to add that detail to it.
Right.
Because otherwise it's just that plastic kit model that I built as a kid.
Yeah. So let's talk about some of the work, because you have some pieces there that are in progress now.
I have a few pieces on my workbench that I'm working on right now. One is a desk,
Love that.
sort of a clawed-foot desk. And also my mother, when I was growing up, my mother was a professional weaver.
Oh, wow.
And she had a Leclerc loom that she was sort of her favorite loom that she used.
Wow.
And years after she died, and I got the loom back, and I decided that I really wanted to build it in miniature. So I built 4 or 5 of them now, versions of my mother's loom. Each one is slightly different as I sort of learn new techniques.
So talk about this. So I'm assuming it's made of hardwood. What kind of materials do you use?
I generally work with cherry. I've used all sorts of different woods, mahogany and walnut, ebony, and numerous other hardwoods, maple, as well as basswood and birch. The problem I often find with using the original wood, often furniture was built with walnut or oak, is you can't convert oak furniture to miniature and still use oak. the grain, the gaps in the wood.
Right.
When you shrink it down, it looks like worms have eaten all your furniture.
Right.
So cherry, I found through experience, is the easiest wood to work with. Unlike maple, which is very hard to stain or color, cherry takes sort of any color of stain, well, whether it be dark or light.
Right.
The grain varies enough in cherry that I can usually find a piece of cherry that will match the traditional type of wood that was used.
Yeah. So, so everything moves. Everything is pretty much modeled after the full-size version. Can you talk a little bit about some of the moving parts to that loom? And yeah,
on the loom,
because I do see parts.
unfortunately, I don't have the reeds which the threads usually go through. They hang on a harness that's movable using the foot pedals.
Wow.
And then the beater bar at the front of the piece. The threads will feed through them, and it will actually function like a full-size loom.
So I have a question. Is that finished in terms of the staining, or do you go back and finish it, or is it going to be unfinished? Like,
it's unfinished now. Once I've got all the parts assembled and functional, I'll take it all back apart, stain the individual pieces, age whatever needs to be aged, add whatever cast pieces need to be added. The crank that allows you to tighten the take-up rolls will all be cast metal.
So right now everything is dry fit?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. And and that's what gets you to have beautiful staining, because you can't, it's hard to stain something after it's already glued, right?
Yeah. It's impossible, as much as I would love to be able to, because finishing is my least favorite part of building, but it's also sort of the most important. So
it is.
I've come a long way, but if you glue it all together, you're never ever going to avoid getting glue on the surface of the wood.
It's true.
and nothing hurts more than to finish a piece, stain it, but then have a piece of it that won't stain because it's already covered in glue.
Yeah, it's horrible. All right, let's talk about some of the tools, and maybe you can give us a little walkthrough of the shop.
Oh, for sure.
Talk about some of your favorite tools. Let's talk about some of the tools you used even to make that loom.
Yeah, well, the X-Acto knife is my friend. I use a lot of X-Acto knives. I have small saws of various sizes that I use fairly regularly to cut pieces. I have a Burns table saw, which is a miniature table saw, which is right now up on the shelf right here.
Oh, I love that. We didn't talk about, how do you start? I mean, do you work off freehand? Do you draw out your work first? What do you use 3D? I mean, do you use anything digital?
I'll find a piece, whether it's in a magazine or a book or online. Often people will contact me with a photograph. I had a woman at one point contact me when she was growing up in the Netherlands, and there was a table that when she was young she used to do her homework on.
Yeah.
And she only had the only picture she had of it was lost during the war.
Oh, wow.
And the only picture she had was a photograph of her father sitting at the corner of the table.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, with a pen, sort of a portrait.
Yeah.
And she had some memories of sort of aspects of the table and this one photograph. And I ended up contacting a museum in the
Oh.
Netherlands, actually, and sort of describing what I thought this table might have looked like.
Yeah.
And they were able to send me some more photos of
Oh,
sort of
wow.
a similar table. So, I mean, my inspiration comes from all over the place. I built a Viking dining room table.
Yes.
And that table came from a single Pinterest post
Right.
that somebody had posted of sort of this full-size photo of a dining room somewhere with this very cool table.
Yeah.
And that was
I
the
just want to say
only
that's
information I
actually,
had.
that's how I found you originally. Was I stopped by your table at one of the shows and I saw that Viking table. That's where I first heard of you. Then I was reintroduced to you online. I'm like, oh my God, that's the guy who did that Viking table. That is an awesome piece.
Yeah, it was an amazing piece. And so many of the pieces like that,
Yeah.
which, I mean, honestly are not likely to fit into a dollhouse.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
but you know, sort of one-off pieces that I build just because, you know, they're so amazing
Yeah.
in their complexity or their design or their originality.
Yeah.
And I often don't think of them when I'm converting them or building them as a dollhouse piece
Right.
necessarily.
Yeah.
I'm sort of building display pieces.
You could say, you know, you're really building to the collector, because I actually know the woman who bought that piece from you, and she's an extensive collector, and that's, you know, she might have had a place for it right now, but maybe sometime in the future. But you know, she knew good work. She knows good work.
One of the very first pieces I ever built was a giant gate leg table from a Scottish castle.
Oh.
And it was about 8.5 inches in diameter, that big around.
Big table.
And it was huge.
Yeah.
And it was amazing. I mean, I thought, you know, I did a really good job on it, I thought. And I must have carried that thing around for 8 years, show after show after show.
Right.
And people would come up and say, wow, that's amazing, but it's so big, I don't know what I'd use it for.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, one show, I set it out on the table, and it had been out on the table for like 2 minutes. I don't even think the show had started. And this woman came up and said, oh my God, I'm building a castle. That'll be perfect.
Perfect.
And I said, well,
I
that's what it's for.
So can we get like maybe a swing around of the shop? Because you really have this great workspace that you're working in it. And
Oh, for sure. So this is my sort of main workspace where I have all my sort of regular tools. I do most of my assembly work and drawings and stuff like that.
We did have a question about the lamp. Is there a special, that looks like a really cool lamp. Is that
yeah, I have a magnifying lamp because I'm old and I can't see anymore.
Welcome to the club.
So I found this at a garage sale.
Oh,
somebody had thrown it away because the bulbs didn't work anymore.
Yeah.
So I took it apart and found new bulbs for it.
There you go.
And unfortunately, one of the bulbs has already died. Sends nasty sparks out all over the place.
Right.
I have a paint booth.
Love that.
Which allows me to do painting, airbrush work, staining, stuff like that.
Oh, you could do staining in there?
Yeah, only because
My hand.
I don't get stain all over everything else.
Yeah.
But I store all my paints and stains and my airbrushes and stuff like that up above.
Yeah. It's a great space.
I like to say it's mine, but it's actually my business partner's laser cutter.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And computer station. I do a lot of my design work on AutoCAD. So I'll design, I'll take a photograph or whatever, I'll convert it into AutoCAD, create the pieces, lay it out in 3-dimension, and convert it then to wood or metal or whatever I'm working with.
Right. I see. Is it a 3D printer?
Yeah, I have a 3D printer, resin printer, which allows for amazing detail, even in very small. When we first got this, I immediately started creating all manner of things.
Yeah. Do some of your wood pieces actually incorporate any of the 3D?
I have actually. I've got a number of pieces here actually that I'll show you. That I used the 3D printer to create legs.
Oh wow! Okay. Yeah.
And but
awesome.
Recently, I purchased a casting oven.
Ooh, what's that?
So it allows me to melt and cast in metal.
Oh wow!
So I'm working on casting with brass and bronze. It's still an experiment in progress. This was supposed to be 4 legs, slightly longer than this one, but it's still a learning process. So in time, a lot of the pieces that I've 3D printed out of resin, I'll be creating out of bronze or brass.
So you create the mold in 3D with resin, and then you'll cast
exactly
metal.
I can create the initial piece in the resin, create the mold, cast it in bronze or brass usually, because that's the easiest to work with.
Wow.
And it's much closer to the original.
Yeah. So you do your own. You'll do your own latches, hinges, everything.
Yeah, exactly. Hinges, no, but the hardware, handles, legs. I'm in the middle of designing a turn of the century drafting table.
Oh wow!
And the whole basis was originally cast steel. So I'm going to be casting it all out of bronze instead. So
yeah, so we're going to see some of your actual pieces, finished pieces.
Yeah, for the resin, this is a piece originally designed by an artisan named Hans Wegner in full size.
Yeah.
I built it.
Let me bring it around a little.
Yeah, I built it slightly smaller than the original piece, but the legs on this are all 3D printed out of resin from based on the original design legs.
Right.
Now, my goal now is to take that resin designed leg and redo it in bronze or aluminum or something like that.
Is that a desk? What is the functionality of that piece? I'm confused.
It's actually a wine case.
Oh, wow.
So it opens up and it's got a spot for glasses, and then your bottles would be on this side or, you know, sitting out on the tabletop.
That's great. And your detailing is great because as you have to show them the dovetailing.
Yes, this is another one that uses dovetailing. So like I mentioned to you before, part of designing furniture is the joinery, the dovetails. You know, often artists who build full-size pieces of furniture, you know, that's one of their sort of design details. You sort of know who built it, because of the joinery that they've used. So I mean, although it's often hard to convert that full-size detail down that small, you can at least sort of create sort of a visual version of it.
Right. But you are using some traditional joinery methods, whether it's dovetailing or mortise and tenon. I never.
Yeah. Now this is an example. This is a green and green piece from the Gamble home in San Diego. I think the Gamble house. They're famous for their ebony pegged furniture, rather than using screws and nails. Their joints were all held together with ebony pegs or
Wow.
walnut. It varied depending on the type of the wood that they were using. So this entire piece is held together with ebony pegs, square ebony pegs.
Square?
Yes. And I found a supplier of wood who could cut 1/32 square ebony. And
I wish you can see that. Can we see some of the square pegs? I see some of them. It's hard to see the light.
Yeah, it's not the best light.
But if you show, yeah, now we could see it. Oh my gosh, that is great.
So yeah, so it's
Oh.
all held together with the ebony pegs, and on the underside of the table, the track that the table rides on is also all wood. So
my goodness, what is the hardwood? Is that cherry wood?
yeah, this is all cherry. And the top, the really interesting thing I thought about the Gamble table when I was looking at the original table was the top is all held together with butterfly joints.
Oh, you're killing me.
And it was important when I decided to build it in miniature that that's sort of one of the sort of profound points of the table is these amazing butterfly joints.
Oh my God.
So I probably did 8 versions of this tabletop trying to line up the butterflies.
How did you cut the butterfly notches?
What I did is I took tissue paper.
Okay.
And I printed the layout of the table on tissue paper. And then laid that on top of the wood, and then used an X-Acto knife to sort of notch the initial pattern so they would line up. And then I filed and filed and filed until.
Wow. Well, we have an interested buyer because someone wants to know it's for sale.
It is for sale and on the website, or you can contact me on Facebook or whatever.
Well, we're
Another
contact information in the chat box, so they'll be able to find you. So that's good. But there was another thing I want to talk about, which is you have a very broad range of interest and also, pieces that you do. Like you have a very broad range of different styles, different techniques, obviously.
Yeah, people often ask like what's my style, and I can't honestly say I have a style because it's not necessarily the type of furniture, the date, the origin that interests me. It's a particular design element, of any piece, whether it's, modern or arts and crafts or, this piece, which is like an ancient Celtic Viking travel chair.
Yeah.
Which I just thought was, when I saw a picture of it on Pinterest or Facebook, I just thought, oh, that's like such a cool thing.
Yeah.
I bet you I can do that in miniature.
Yeah. I get a question about the blue piece. Can you share that? Yeah.
Oh, the Lynn Godley piece.
Who is that?
There's an artist who I've done a lot of pieces of Vincent Lehmann, who is a furniture builder. Now, I thought he lived in Western Canada, but he may actually live in New York State. And his style of furniture is very sort of Alice in Wonderland,
whimsical,
wild shapes. And I found his piece. I contacted him. I said, I really love your furniture. Can I build it in miniature? And he said, sure, I don't care. And so I built most of his pieces in miniature. And
so you've done more than one of his.
Yeah, and they're quite popular. And then I was looking for sort of similar types of furniture.
So what does that do? Is that a cabinet with a drawer?
Yes.
Yeah.
This is a cabinet.
Oh, wow.
that has sort of various colors. The window in it is a good example of how I use laser cutting.
Oh, we didn't see that.
Because
It's a transparent window. I didn't see that.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's a piece of acrylic, and I just laser cut the pattern onto it, and you know, it gives a very cool effect.
very cool.
The drawers, of course, are dovetailed because they're always dovetailed.
And
And
that notch that it slides, that's also another traditional method, right? The little
yeah,
slide, I don't know what you call it. Yeah.
and what I particularly liked about this piece was it has that sort of Alice in Wonderland craziness,
Yeah.
but now the latch on the drawer is not exactly, of course, like the original piece, but on the original piece, it was a very traditional handle on the drawer.
Uh-huh. All right.
Now, which was very strange compared to the overall shape of it.
Mhm.
So I wanted to sort of include a very traditional brass handle on an otherwise crazy piece.
It's a great piece. And I just, that's what I love about your work. It's just a broad range of different styles and just different elements, that whether it's a painted piece or a stained piece, a modern piece. I see an upholstered piece there. Is that?
Yeah, this
is that
actually,
sofa?
I did a series of Japanese pieces. Actually, it originally started, I did a set of samurai swords.
Uh-huh.
And I had this set of samurai swords, and I sort of thought it would be part of sort of a collection.
Yeah.
So I built this
Oh, I love
bench,
Yeah.
which has a very modern upholstery, despite it being a fairly traditional shape. And along with that, I built a serving table,
Oh, I love
which
it.
has a barbecue insert in it.
Uh-huh.
And what I particularly liked about this is you can remove the barbecue
Look at
and
that.
it converts into just sort of a traditional, much more traditional serving table.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. We did have one question about the other Japanese piece. Again, the step up piece. What is that called again?
Oh, the step cabinet. It's called a tantsu.
Oh,
And it's a traditional style of cabinetry from Japan. It's actually 3 separate pieces
oh,
that
wow.
stack up.
Yep. Wow.
And again, that's all of the drawers. If I can get the drawers out, are dovetailed.
Yep.
In fact, I have another one that the drawers are all double pegged.
Double pegged. Oh,
So they're dovetailed like a regular dovetail, but then in order to hold them together, you peg them.
oh, wow.
So they interlock and they're pegged again with ebony. So
Yeah. So what is next for you? We talked a little bit about the show circuit that you do. You have been to several shows up in Canada. You've done the US shows. I know we've missed them a couple of years, but you're planning to be at the Chicago show right next year.
yeah, I'll be at the Chicago show in April. All things, going well. One of the things in Chicago this year is I'm going to be teaching a course.
Beautiful. Yep.
So that's going to be not a new experience. I have done it once before, but this is certainly going to be the first time I've taught a course at a major show. So,
yeah. And what's the class? What is the course?
I'm doing a toy box and a selection of toys. So people will be able to build a toy box.
Yep.
And choose from a number of different toys, and we'll assemble those and paint them. So when they leave the show, they'll have their toy box and an assortment of toys to go with it. This is also here are a few other pieces that I've been working on.
Yeah.
George Nakashima, who is a designer. He's dead now, but his daughter still runs the company. He had a very sort of Asian-inspired arts and crafts. If you've ever seen his tables, famously are made from raw wood and are often butterfly jointed together.
Oh, wow.
And so I'm doing a series of chairs and also the bench. Unfortunately, the back of the bench is missing right now, but I've used, this is a piece of cedar. It's 1,000-year-old cedar.
Ooh.
From a tree that fell off an escarpment at a provincial park here in Ontario. And Martha McLean from Martha McLean Miniatures.
Yep.
Her husband gave me this wood, and
wow.
it's a cedar stump that's 1,000 years old.
Oh, wow. I
So
love it.
I've used it in various pieces with these. I have another piece that is just a very simple table, but it has the 1,000-year-old cedar
Oh, that's
top.
beautiful. Beautiful.
So this piece is actually just on the way out to a customer, but I have lots of the cedar left. So I've made tabletops from it. I've made game boards out of it.
You cut down your wood yourself and make it to the right depth and thickness and all that? Do you have that machinery?
Yeah, I do in part. I used to buy a lot of my wood from some hobby suppliers like Northeastern Wood Products and Midwest Wood Products. The problem that has come up from dealing with them is the grain. They're using new wood and cutting it down. So the grain is often kind of weird. So what I've been doing is buying, and finding scraps of wood at, old farms and yard sales.
Yep.
Old furniture.
And hand picking it based on the grains. I would
Yeah,
imagine.
and then I can cut it up to whatever size I need.
Yeah. That's
So
awesome.
I've gotten much more into that now.
That's really cool that you have more skills. All right, so let me find out if anybody has any more questions as we begin to wrap this up. And we have a question. Could you show your favorite tools? What are some of your favorite tools? That's a good question from Antero.
Well, obviously one of my favorite tools is my Burns table saw, which I bought a number of years ago, and is absolutely the most beautiful machine I've ever had. It's designed by, I believe he was a watchmaker or a clockmaker. It's so precise. I can cut down to, within millimeters. It's very powerful for its size. So, it was a birthday gift and it's awesome.
Yeah.
And
Dave wants to know if you use, do you hand cut all your joints or do you sometimes use routers and milling machines?
I have a number of jigs. If they're just square joints, I have a jig and I'll just use the table saw.
Yeah.
And, cut them. Usually what I'll do is I'll take a full piece of wood and do, essentially, several hundred dovetails, and then cut that wood as I need it for a drawer. If the dovetails are angled, often they're V-shaped. I have a number of jewelers' burrs that at various angles. So I'll use a mill to cut those.
So this is awesome. I mean, so I was going to ask you what's next for you, but there's a lot happening. We're going to see you at the Chicago show. You're going to be teaching at the Chicago show. We did get questions about the sale of your miniatures. They can find you. We've already posted how they can get in touch with you. You do sell miniatures. Do you have an Etsy site, or how do you sell miniatures? Are they right off of your website?
Yeah, I have a website. KeendersonMiniatures.com.
Hmm.
I also list stuff on Facebook, not to sell, but
Yeah.
I had an Etsy page years ago.
Yeah.
But
But if there's interest, folks can find you through Instagram or Facebook or even
and I think my phone number is listed as well. If you want to call, if you have questions,
awesome.
they can call and reach me.
Well, this has been super awesome. Thank you so much for spending this time with us and sharing your wonderful studio, your amazing work. We can't wait to see what else is coming down the pike. I mean, it's just wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, Darren. It's been a joy.
Yeah, this has been great. And thank you guys at home for joining. This has been so super fantastic. What a great way to spend a Sunday afternoon. And we can't wait to see more of your wonderful work. Thank you so much, Glenn. Have a great day, everybody.
You too. Thank you very much.
All right. Bye.